on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Motherfucker, he's on his...
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Listener discretion is advised. The show contains graphic language and depictions of violence. It may not be suitable for all audiences.
We say fuck a lot.
Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
How's it going?
We're just chilling.
Episode 101.
Yeah, it's time. We thought we would take a little break, do something different, back off a little bit. An easy episode, if you will.
Back off a little bit from what? True crime?
From all the hard work Heather does.
Yeah, I need a little break. I have to say, I've been swamped with schoolwork, and it's kicking my ass.
Yeah, you look mentally exhausted at times.
There's nothing like networking and security on the computer, like related to computers, that makes me feel dumb. I feel so fucking dumb in my class.
Yeah, and I know nothing. She's like, help, and ask me a question. I'm like, yeah, I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about setting up virtual machines.
Yeah.
There's all these commands and codes I'm supposed to enter, and I don't know how to do it, and I just feel really stupid.
You should see her little hands going when she says that. She's supposed to do all these little things.
Stupid.
Yeah, so so we thought we'd take it easy on this one and have a fun time with some listener stories.
Yeah, so we put out a call for listener stories on our social media as well as on the last episode, and we've gotten quite a few responses. Now, the cool thing about these stories, Dylan, is that not all of them are like scary stories. We have a couple of creepy stories that focus on paranormal, but we also have a few that are just so strange and funny and weird that we have to share them.
Well, that's the kind I like to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
It's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah, so earlier, right quick, I'll say I took Heather out for a little bit of entertainment.
So he took me on a date to the trash dump?
Yeah, we had to take the trash to the green cans.
Yes.
And so we just slowly drove through our neighborhood, which is entertainment in itself.
Yeah, we live in a very interesting neighborhood. So I would have to say the small area that we live in, this little neighborhood is, I don't know, it's like part of the neighborhood seems normal.
Right.
It's a lot of little like mill houses, some little ranch style houses, right? It just seems like working people with kids, families, some older retired folks. It's really quiet in the town. And then on the other side of the neighborhood is like a fucking Jerry Springer show.
You never know what you're going to see.
There's so much dysfunction on the one end.
There may be some random guy walking mad as hell with a golf club.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times.
I've seen golf club guy multiple times, and he's always angry.
He has his golf club. A few weeks ago, I was startled. I go outside, and I'm like poking around my garden a little bit, and I hear a fight. Well, I'm nosy, so I'm like, what's going on? And it sounds kind of like it's on the other, like, back end of our neighborhood, right? Anyway, there are two guys having this yelling match. One of them has a cinder block, and he's trying to hit the other guy with it.
Yeah, she's texting me. I'm at work, and she's texting me what's happening, like, in real time, and I'm sending me videos, and I'm just like, what's cinder block guy doing? Yeah, they were going at it.
Next thing I know, there's like 5 cops. They have both men, like, separated. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seemed to be some kind of a situation over money or something that had been taken from someone, right?
Right, something like that.
Yeah,
and that's what I hear from the neighbors.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to hit you with a cinder block unless you give my stuff back.
Yeah, so there's always some form of entertainment. And like I said, it's sort of like Jerry Springer Live.
Yeah, and so we were heading to the dump, and I was like, I just know we're going to see something. It's like Saturday around 3 o'clock, everybody's home.
And we're very judgmental, so that helps, that we judge everyone.
And we pass a gathering of sorts, and it seems to be how can I describe this? A teen mother's baby shower.
Well, I just put together from what I could see that it was like a baby shower, And we see this young girl walking from the carport area of the house where the party seemed to be set up.
With a really fancy dress on.
She's wearing a really fancy dress. She looks incredibly young.
Yes.
Right? So she can't be 20.
No, I'm thinking closer to 16.
Right. Very, very pregnant. She has like 2 friends helping her walk because she's just like waddling along.
Yeah.
Then across the street in a parking lot, of like a business. There's a couple of guests who have gathered there, I guess, with their vehicles and whatnot. And we see some of her party guests like making a TikTok video in the parking lot. They're like dancing.
Yeah.
Right. And these are her friends, I'm assuming.
And Heather's like, if your friends are in the parking lot across from your house at your baby shower making TikTok videos, then you're probably not that old at your baby shower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I don't know if anyone else thinks this is funny but us. But we were tickled to death all the way to the dump and back.
Well, I was just cracked up, I guess, that the guests decided to make a TikTok like dance video in the parking lot at the baby shower.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's what you do at baby showers.
And then we have some folks up the street, like this one lady, and she's always in her pajamas or like a house dress.
Yes.
With slippers, and she just sits on her porch.
24/7.
Got a bunch of little dogs running around, so she's out like in her jammies on the porch, and Dylan's like, "Oh, there's that lady."
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's housecoat lady.
Right.
Yeah, so I love my neighborhood, but you just never know what you'll see when we take a spin around it.
It's pretty colorful.
Yeah, so are we going to dive into the first story? You're going to take the first one, right?
I'm going to take the first one?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay, so I will read our first story. Are you ready?
I can't wait, because I don't know most of these, just the ones I have to read.
Okay, I'm going to get started here. Growing up, I lived on family land in Arkansas that used to be a Civil War camp. There are unmarked graves in the woods from some of the soldiers. When I was a kid, my parents mostly told us not to go in the woods behind our house, not so much because of the graves or anything, but because they were probably afraid we'd get lost or hurt. Some of the area was steep, rocky, and when I was a little kid, my dad and I saw a swing in our backyard take off suddenly, as if somebody was swinging in it. The thing was swinging higher and higher, like whatever was on it had momentum.
Oh, my God.
He joked around that the ghosts must be having a little fun. Now, as I grew into a teenager, my parents told me about the history of our land and the unmarked graves on the property. They had seen some things, but never really wanted to admit the property is haunted. Naturally, as I grew into a teenager, I was curious, so my friends and I would go out into the woods after dark. On a few occasions, we saw what looked like smoky, shadowy people.
Oh, no.
Usually, they'd be walking around or standing, but seemed like we were not visible to them.
Wow, so you're seeing this whole crowd almost of, multiple people that are wow, that's really weird.
And they're just like going about their business and they don't see you?
Yeah, so maybe you're dead. Maybe
like
you're the dead one.
Like you're in another dimension or something? They were full-bodied but had a grayish color about them. That's what made me feel like they looked smoky. One night, we saw what looked like a campfire burning up on this hill, and I could hear voices having a conversation. It was a bit of a steep climb, but as we got closer, the fire went black. It scared us so bad that we ran out of the woods back to my house. After that, I stayed out of the woods. My parents still live on that piece of land. Mom and Dad have claimed to see people walking in the woods, lanterns in the distance, and that they've heard voices out there. I guess my parents don't mind the ghosts so much. Adam.
Oh, damn, Adam. Well, that's pretty creepy. And you can imagine there's a lot of energy in a piece of land like that where all that happened, right?
It's strange.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the second one.
Okay.
And the story's from Kayla.
Kayla's one of our patrons.
Kayla is one of our patrons.
You can join Patreon. If you go to patreon.com, Mountain Murders Podcast, you can join for as low as $3 a month and access all kinds of bonus content.
Wow, nice segue.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. My brother and his friends were returning from a long day of fishing the French Broad in Hot Springs, which is a very beautiful area if you don't know.
In North Carolina.
Yep. A few summers ago, when they spotted a young woman walking on the side of the road, they stopped to see if she was okay because she was wearing a tank top, shorts, no shoes, and it was completely dark outside. And I'll tell you what, on these mountain roads, it's dark for real.
Yeah, if there's no light, street light.
No street light, no porch lights in some areas where, so it's super dark. She had long dark hair, pale skin, and when they slowed the truck down to roll down the window, her eyes were completely black, and she looked angry. Now, what would you do in that situation?
Roll the window back off?
I would scream like a little girl. I mean, no offense to anyone. I'm sorry. See, this is what I do, Kayla. Sorry. Her eyes were completely black, and she looked angry. It scared them so badly that they sped off. They got home and called the Hot Springs town police to have them go back and check on the woman, but the town cop couldn't find anyone. My brother is a straight-laced, good old boy, and he doesn't believe in the paranormal. The fact that he got so freaked out by his experience really made me believe his story. He couldn't stop going on and on about her black eyes and had trouble sleeping for a while after that. Has anyone else had a similar experience locally with encountering a black-eyed person? Also, I'm sorry. This is to us, but I'll just read out loud. Also, if you guys want to take a trip out to Madison County, I'd love to buy you guys a beer and talk all of the bloody Madison lore.
Oh, we're going to do that.
Oh, my God.
I want to talk about the Shelton Laurel Massacre. That's actually a story I've thought we could talk about on Mountain Murders because it's just so crazy. So, yes, Kayla, we're going to take you up on that offer.
Wow.
And you know what's really funny is we have another story where black eyes come into play.
No way.
Yes,
okay.
we do. I swear.
Yeah, I'm sorry I butchered that a little bit, but now if you knew, if this was your brother and you knew he was, just straight up, straight-laced, doesn't believe in any paranormal or any of those shenanigans, and when he was freaked out for days or even weeks after this encounter, that would weird me out pretty bad.
Well, I actually have something similar. My dad told me a story about when he was a teenager, and my dad is definitely not someone who buys any ghost stories.
No.
I mean, he's not at all.
Oh, Joe, don't buy that bullshit.
My dad's like kind of a big redneck guy, and he's a hunter and like whatever. So he told me the story about before I was born, he was like 15 or 16, and he and a high school friend were hunting in the Maggie Valley area. Actually, specifically in an area called Campbell Creek. So my dad says they're like way up in the woods. I guess his friend kind of lived up there. And they were like, I don't know, squirrel hunt. I don't know what they were doing. But he said it was, it was getting dark or whatever. And they're coming out of the woods. And he says they get down to the road and it was like a dirt gravel road. And so they're like walking back, I guess, to get to their truck or whatever. And he's like, we're just walking along, and all of a sudden he said like this ghostly figure, like this woman in white, just sort of crossed, like she came down the bank and crossed the road in front of them and then just like vanished.
Oh my God.
And that they both were like, did you see that? And it like really freaked them out.
Well, what the hell?
And my dad's not really one to tell stories like that, so I believe that maybe he did see something. He swears he did.
Well, that's crazy. I mean, it takes me having to see this with my own eyes to really, really believe. But so, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I might be scared to death
but
if
I've
I saw
heard
that.
a couple of, people see a lot of weird stuff in the woods. And actually, we do have a story later on about a hunter who had a weird experience. And it's a great story. Okay, so I have one here. And it is not really a scary story, but it's so wild you have to listen to this. Hi, Mountain Murderers. Love the show. I wanted to tell you all the story. I've only told a few people. It's not really a scary story, but rather just a weird nightmare story that I'll never forget. When I was 14, my parents were out of town. I had a boyfriend, my first.
Ooh.
We'll call him Chris. He was adorable, looked like a young Christian Slater. Okay.
Oh, wow, Chris. Damn. She was lucky.
His name was Chris. Yeah, okay. So most of my friends had lost their virginity, and I wanted to see what the big deal was, so I invited him over. Now, my older brother was 19 at the time, going to community college, and was living at home. Now, he was told to keep an eye on me with my parents being out of town, but he threw $15 at me to order a pizza and told me to be cool because he was going to go out with some friends. So Chris comes over around 9:30 as soon as my brother left for a party or whatever. We were making out pretty hard and heavy on the sofa and decided we would go upstairs to my bedroom. We had thrown off some clothes like on the living room floor in the heat of passion, and when we go upstairs, we're practically naked. And I promise this isn't a porno story.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about this story.
So we suddenly hear a bunch of people in the house, and oh shit, I think to myself, it's probably my brother. I tell my boyfriend to wait a minute. I throw on some shorts and a shirt and go downstairs. Sure enough, my brother is in the kitchen with like 4 of his friends eating the leftover pizza that I'd ordered for dinner. So I make sure everything is okay and then head back upstairs. I open the bedroom door just as my boyfriend is starting to put on what clothes he had left, which was not much. I should probably go, he says. I tell him I'll help him leave if he'll wait just a minute. So we realize he doesn't have any pants.
Oh, they're downstairs?
He left them downstairs.
Oh, my gosh. Uh-oh.
So the only thing I could toss him was a pair of those pink Sofie shorts.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
Like those little cotton shorts that, like athletic-y shorts.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so he puts those on. There's a bathroom by my bedroom, and he has to use the bathroom. So I'm waiting on him to come back in my room so we can figure out how to sneak him out outside when I hear my brother scream something. He comes running up the stairs, holding my boyfriend's pants. Like, what is this shit? He screams at me.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, I have no idea. He then goes on to say that there's a bra on the floor and he knows I've got a boy in the house. Where am I hiding him? Now, I'm telling him to calm down, and he pushes into my bedroom and he sees the messy bed, so I'm caught. My boyfriend must have heard the commotion, so he climbs out the window in the bathroom. It connected to a garage roof. Okay.
Here comes dude out with the pink shorts on.
The moment he steps out the window, there are 3 of my brother's friends standing in the backyard smoking pot. So they look up and see my boyfriend. He freaks out and jumps back in the bathroom window. I can hear some yelling outside, and my brother's confused and trying to figure out what's going on. So he opens my closet door. Then I guess he figures that my boyfriend must be in the bathroom. So I'm following him, telling him, like, chill out, calm down. I can explain. It's cool. Just be cool. So he tries the bathroom door, but it's locked. And my brother is mad, and I guess I can understand a little. I'm his 14-year-old sister, and he's protective or whatever. So he's pulling on the door, and by then one of my brother's friends runs inside and is yelling up the stairs about some guy being out on the roof.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Then we hear a crash. My boyfriend dove headfirst out the window. I found out later that he somehow broke the window with his face.
Oh, my God.
He runs along the garage roof. My brother's friends must think it's a prowler, so they start to chase him.
Oh, my God.
He jumps off the garage roof across a neighbor's fence, and from what I understand, he somehow hurls himself into the neighbor's yard, and one of my brother's friends has managed to get around the front of the house and is trying to chase him, thinking it's a burglar. My boyfriend managed to jump some fences, run across backyards, until he managed to lose these 3 to 4 guys chasing him. Somehow my boyfriend managed to get away. Meanwhile, my brother is in a full rage machine mode. He's so angry at me. He's yelling something about a broken window. I can't be trusted. So my boyfriend calls me the next day to tell me what happened, that he ended up getting stitches. He had to tell his parents some crazy story about getting beat up. He breaks up with me shortly after all this happens.
It didn't work out.
Okay, so my brother finally cooled off, and he didn't tell his friends that guy was my boyfriend. I guess he knew it was somehow like a privacy violation thing. His friends thought it was someone trying to break in the house, and they kept talking about how some weird guy in pink shorts was on the roof, and they were chasing him.
What the hell? Could you imagine the neighbors like watching all this transpire?
My brother told my parents they ran off a prowler, which of course freaked my parents out. They were upset that we didn't call the police and make a report. To make matters worse, my parents installed one of those alarm systems, which made it impossible to sneak in and out as a teenager.
Oh, my God.
Every time my parents would talk about burglars and prowlers, my brother would cut his eyes at me. It has been our secret for like 15 years. Anyway, it's not a scary story, but it's so wild, I thought you guys might want to hear. P.S. Don't use my real name.
Oh, my. Well, so the brother went all out to cover for her in the end. So I think he was a real true big bro, don't you?
I'm thinking about this kid on a roof with pink shorts.
Yeah, and to this day, his friends
and
are...
these people chasing him.
That's one of
he's a prowler.
His friends' cocktail party stories, talking about the time they chased a dude off, a prowler in pink shorts, off from their buddy's house. Oh, my God. Oh, I don't... the people involved will not need your name to know that story. That's a pretty detailed story, right? Particular story, if you will. She dumbfounded. Wow. Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can butcher another one. Yeah, here we go. So, my best friend growing up was a girl named Jennifer. Her parents lived in what I'd describe as a normal house. It was a brick rancher, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a cul-de-sac. That's very normal. It had a basement that was partially a garage, and the other half her mom had converted into a beauty shop. Jennifer would always joke that the house was haunted. I guess I thought she was just trying to get one over on me, but I did experience a few strange things. The first time we were in her bed giggling and stuff when we saw what looked like glowing eyes in the window. Oh my God, I would shit all over myself. What about you?
That's pretty scary.
We screamed. Her mom came in and told us to quit fooling around and go back to bed. She closed the blinds. The next time we were in her mom's salon playing with rollers when we kept hearing these weird sounds in the room next door, like a growling. It sounded like an animal in there. Scared, we went upstairs. The third thing that happened was really scary. Well, this is pretty scary so far. Jennifer had a birthday party, a sleepover. Me and like 4 of the girls were sleeping in the den area. I woke up around 4 a.m. It was dark outside. The VCR light said 4 a.m. The house was quiet. I woke up so thirsty and I hated to go get a drink because I just felt uncomfortable in other people's kitchens, which is, I'm totally like that.
I understand that feeling.
Yeah, I'm just so, feel so uncomfortable in people's, especially at night when you think you might wake somebody up. Yeah, so, and stuff, or I felt uncomfortable and stuff. But I go to get a drink of water. There were some of those red plastic cups left over from the party on the counter. I ran some tap water and drank it. The basement stairs were in the corner of the kitchen. There was a back door then to the right side where there were stairs. The door was at the bottom of the stairs. So I turn around and look over to the stairs, and I swear I see a head floating with nobody. It looks like an old man's head. I ran to the den. I covered my face up with a blanket, scared to death, and I couldn't go back to sleep. When everybody woke up, I told Jennifer what had happened, and she told me it had to be the ghost. Oh, my God. Yeah, you could have warned me about that, right?
Well, it sounds like her friend did warn her about a ghost.
Well, I mean, you could have went, like, you're going to see disembodied heads. You could have had a little more detail, maybe. At some point, later on, Jennifer's dad told her that an old man had killed himself in the house. He had hung himself in the basement. Oh, my God.
Ooh.
Ooh. All right, that's pretty good.
Would you
right?
live in a house if you'd known someone had committed suicide in the house?
That wouldn't bother me.
You don't think
I mean,
so?
well, I would be like, oh, that sucks. I'd be, the kind of sad you get when you hear about people you don't know at all, maybe dying or having some tragic circumstance. But no, I would not rule that house out because someone committed suicide there. Would you?
I don't know.
But then I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't some bumps and thumps in the night.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now,
I'd be on the fence. It would have to be like a really good deal in the house.
And thank you, Katie, for that story. That scary. I would be scared to death if I saw had any of those experiences she just described in the house.
Now, our next story is from a person who calls himself Call Me West Virginia Wolfman.
Oh, my God. I will call you West Virginia Wolfman.
This is a really good story. So, Wolfman, you're pretty good at telling stories, bro. I gotta hand it to you.
Look at his name. How could he not be?
I gotta read this to you. It's amazing.
Okay.
I live in the Appalachian Mountains like you guys. I've been a hunter most of my life. I've seen my fair share of weird shit in the woods, as you can imagine. I've seen what I can only explain as occult type of stuff left behind, including mutilated animals nailed to trees.
Oh, my God.
I've heard people talk about stuff like that. Rock altars, stick thingies like out of Blair Witch, mannequin heads, weird symbols painted on trees, pentagrams, rocks in the shape of pentagrams, burned bones in fire pits, you name it. These things are usually way up in the mountains, not near trails, and not easy to find if you're not incredibly comfortable with the terrain. Now, when I've come across these things in rugged areas, I always think it was not left to scare people, that these are people who are going out of their way not to be found.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I don't believe it is kids trying to scare people. Anyway, it was a chilly morning, pre-dawn hours. I hiked in probably 3 miles off the beaten trail to my spot. I had scouted this spot for a while. I chose it because it was so far out. I figured nobody would be out there. I'd say it was probably 30 minutes before sunrise. The wind kicked up, bone-cutting wind. Fog rolled in so thick I could barely see in front of my face. Within a couple of minutes, I couldn't hardly see like 4 inches in front of my face. I'm sitting tight, huddled against a tree that was sort of fallen, when I start hearing twigs snap around me.
So he just basically stopped in place because the fog's so thick and, get his bearings. Maybe it'll clear out.
And I'm thinking if this is like, he's kind of in this spot, like maybe this is sort of like what he thought of as like a hunting blind or something maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Now, normally I'd be happy because this could mean my trip was successful. But for some reason, I had this really bad feeling wash over me. I can't explain it. I chambered around in my lever action 30-30 as quietly as I could and pushed myself tighter against the tree. By this time, my hands were shaking. I can't honestly tell if it was the cold wind or my nerves. I heard the rustling moving closer, but I couldn't see a damn thing in the woods. The sun started rising over the mountain to my east, and I was able to see a bit more around me. I heard the twigs breaking and leaves rustling, but it was more sporadic now. I was sure as the world I'd soon see a herd of whitetails around me.
Oh, my God.
Then I felt kind of stupid for being so scared. I had spent many years in the woods, having seen in person bears, mountain lions, and such. Why I had such a bad feeling didn't make sense to me. After all, I'm a fully grown man holding a gun next to me. I was waiting to see the deer I was fully convinced were all around me, but as the morning met me, there was nothing around me at all. I was alone in the woods. Then I started hearing the twigs snapping and crackling, and I heard a woman cackling in the distance.
Oh, no. No.
I heard the cackle, a kind of shrill laugh, 3 more times throughout the day. I didn't recognize it as any bird or animal I'd ever heard. It sounded human and like a female.
Oh, my God, it's a banshee.
I waited all day without seeing as much as a squirrel. The woods were quiet, silent. It was eerie. The quiet would seem like an hour or two. Then I'd hear these twigs snapping and one of those loud cackles. The entire time I was out there, I felt like I was being watched. So by mid-afternoon, I was half frozen, feeling defeated. I made my way back out to my truck. I didn't want to be wandering out of the woods with a flashlight after the sun went down. The minute I started hiking out of there on my little path, I felt like I was being watched. Several times, I'd stop walking and look around me in all 4 directions, like make a big circle around me, but I didn't see anything. So maybe my mind is playing tricks on me. I take a few steps, then stop. At one point, I even moved in front of a big tree and stood there thinking maybe I'd catch somebody behind me. I poked my head around the tree, but didn't see anything. I couldn't stop feeling like there was someone around. By the time I get out of the woods and back to my truck, I'm maybe 70 yards away. I can see something hanging from the side mirror of my driver's door.
No.
Wondering what the heck it is, I get closer. You'll never believe it, but I find a dead squirrel with a small rope around its neck tied like a noose.
What the fuck?
It's been draped around my mirror. On my driver's window, written in wax, are the words, "Don't come back."
Oh, shit, dude.
I'm a big guy. I have a gun. I'm rattled to my core. I grab the swinging squirrel rope, loosen it from my mirror, drop it on the ground. I unlock my truck door and hightail it out of there. When I got back to town, it was dark. I managed to scrape the waxy substance off the window, so I can only speculate the wax was maybe from a candle. I don't know. One of the scariest things to ever happen to me.
No, dude. No, that's beyond, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he quit going back to his spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have messed it up for him. Oh, my God.
What do you think about that?
No, not an end got me. I was like, okay, maybe his brain is, how your brain can be funny, and play all these tricks on you and stuff. And, but when you have that, you just can't shake that feeling of someone looking at you or and even if you can't see them, you just keep having that feeling. That's a very old instinct, I think, that humans have developed over, tens of thousands of years. And that's your gut feeling or your gut reaction. And it's usually right?
Yeah. So then it makes me think about what he said at the beginning of the story about seeing weird occult things in the woods. So,
well, yeah.
Is he saying he thinks this could be tied to some weird group of
maybe,
people doing something in the woods?
Yeah, and they caught someone out there and they knew they could fuck with them, right?
Maybe.
And scare the living hell out of them?
Yeah, it's a pretty scary story.
Oh, my God.
Do you have another one for us, Dylan?
Yeah, I do have another one.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And I apologize ahead of time if I ruin it for anyone. When I was a kid, my great aunt died. We went to her house for the funeral. My mom was helping my family pack up some things and such, so we stayed in her house. It was a big farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. I had been there a couple of times before in the summers. My cousin and I were playing with Barbie dolls on the staircase. For some reason, I looked up the stairs and saw a little girl who was about our age looking down at us. I stopped playing and went up the stairs. The little girl ran into the sewing room. My great aunt quilted and stuff, so she had a whole room with all her sewing stuff in it. Her skin was really pale white. She had blonde ringlet curls, and she was wearing an old-timey white dress. She took her hand and touched my face. Oh, my God. I was so scared. It was cold as I'm sorry. I was so scared I couldn't move or do anything. I was frozen. Her hand was cold as ice. Her eyes turned black. I closed my eyes, so terrified. Then she was gone. I never saw her again, and I hope I never do. I didn't tell anyone about what happened. We stayed the night. Oh my God! We stayed the night at the house, packed up a few things my mom wanted from her aunt, and we never went back to the house. I think my mama ended up selling the property. Ashley. Oh my God! What do you think about that?
That's crazy.
Thank you, Ashley, for sharing that.
That's creepy.
Yeah, I mean, she was just a little kid.
I wonder what the history of the house was.
Who knows? It was an old farmhouse, so it could have been built around the turn of the 19th.
Well, if the little girl's wearing like an
1900s?
old-timey dress and stuff, I mean, I mean, even maybe the 1800s or something.
Yeah, even the late 1800s, yeah. Okay.
Creepy. Okay, so
I would not go back to that house.
So I have another story here, and this one is a long story, but it's really funny. And I personally know the individual who sent in the story, and it's absolutely true.
Really? Oh, is this that one?
This is that one.
Okay, this is a good story.
Okay, so bear with me, guys. It's a long story. It says, Lou and the Mercedes is the title of the story. I tell long stories. It will take a while to get to the point. Hang on for the ride. So I had recently been discharged from the military, was on the receiving end of a shitty divorce, and I decided I really needed a project car to satisfy my need to fix something I could control. I practice ritualistic self-abuse by making poor decisions in my life. See above divorce. So I found a nondescript mid-1970s 2 Mercedes diesel, non-turbo, that was also a standard. It was my shitty unicorn.
So he's found the perfect old car.
I call up the number in the ad, and a guy answers sounding like Robert De Niro from Goodfellas. There are a few things you should understand about where I live. There is some Italian mafia, and every person I knew with Italian heritage growing up claimed to have a relative or knew someone in the mafia. So there are a lot of people who act like they are somehow in the mob or talk like Goodfellas or just try to magnify that persona. I'm going to do my best mafia voice, okay?
Oh, yeah, you've got to.
Lou answers the phone and says, "Oh, the Mercedes? You interested in the Mercedes? Yeah, that's at my mechanic's house. Let's meet at Dunkin' Donuts." Is that a good voice?
Yeah, that's perfect, Lou.
For like a country girl from North Carolina?
No, that's it.
So imagine all this in the Goodfellas accent. I was kind of excited, but only about 50%. I figured if I meet him and he's driving a Lincoln Town car and in a really nice suit, mafia, but if he's in a shitbox, probably just a wannabe. Okay, so I pull up at the Dunkies, and he is in a sweatsuit driving a shitty Ford Ranger and walking with a cane. He is not impressive. I figure wannabe. Lou says, it's at my mechanic's house. Follow me. It's about 20 minutes away. Mind you, we were just outside of a major metropolitan city, and so I follow him for a good 30 minutes. And if memory serves, I think this is like Providence.
Yeah, I was going to say the Providence, Rhode Island area,
I think
right?
this is in Providence.
Okay.
Where they meet. Like I said, if memory serves. He didn't include the details, so. We go out into the sticks. I live like 45 minutes away, and I didn't even know it got this desolate so close to the city. We are driving down this route, and the houses are almost a mile apart with forests in between. I'm starting to think this must be some shade tree mechanic because there's nothing out here. Then we turn down a dirt road and finally reach what I'm pretty sure is an abandoned house. There is an old 70s-style Dodge camper in the pull-around driveway that I don't think has been moved since the 70s, and there is a series of outbuildings to the left of the house. There is a 2-story garage with old plywood covering the doors and some car parts lying around. Kind of behind the house and to the left is like a long cinder block 4-car garage that again looks like it's abandoned. I also want you to understand there was no yard or grass. It was just overgrown brush that occurs under a forest canopy. The Mercedes and a few other cars were just out in the trees. Like the cars were parked about the same time as the house was abandoned in the 1970s. There is some old snow on the ground and here and there, and the car is sitting on the ground because the tires have either gone flat or they've just sunken into the ground. Lou gets out and starts saying, oh, geez, my mechanic, he must have left it outside. I can't believe this. I told him we were coming. And I'm thinking to myself, you must be fucking crazy if you think I believe the situation just occurred. Because if I'm honest, I didn't really care. The car was listed as $400, and I was pretty sure I could talk him down.
So, like, it just accidentally got left outside. It's been garage kept all this time?
Right.
Yeah.
Part of my self-abuse was that the car was hopeless. There was no parts available, and I would never be able to fix it. I really liked it. I was literally thinking, how many trees do I have to cut down to be able to get a trailer to it? Who do I know that has a trailer and a winch? The answer is no one.
Oh, my God.
At least he's honest with himself. So I'm talking to Lou about the car and how it's in real bad shape. I'm trying to get the backstory to the car, and I'm starting to think he might actually have some sort of mental deficiency. His speech is a little slurred, although heavily Goodfella accent, and he is just kind of not really knowledgeable about the car. As I'm watching him walk, I notice he is kind of hugging his one arm to his body, and I ask him why he's using the cane. You don't look old enough to walk with a cane. Did something happen? And he starts telling me the story. I used to be into kickboxing. I was a champion kickboxer, and I traveled all over the place competing. One time I traveled over to Korea for this tournament, and I won. But I got kicked in the head during the bout, and, like after the bout, when I was leaving, I passed out. When I woke up, they wanted to take me to a hospital, but I wasn't going to let some foreign doctor work on me. So I got on the plane to fly back to the U.S. But on the way back, I had a stroke on the plane. I guess when I got kicked, it caused some sort of blood clot or something. I don't know. So this answers a number of concerns lingering in the back of my head. It starts to make more sense. And I'm thinking, he's probably being taken advantage of by this, mechanic. The stroke has obviously had an impact on his brain and explains why he seems to be kind of slow and doesn't really recognize how ridiculous this whole scenario sounds. I then ask my natural follow-up question when purchasing cars about he acquired said automobile. And he says, well you see, in my line of work, sometimes people owes me money and, instead they gives me things.
Okay, what the hell?
My nonchalant response is, oh, yeah? My brain is screaming, what the fuck? But I'm now super excited because everything starts to make a little more sense. The house in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of cars sitting in the trees, champion kickboxer. He is a good fella. I tell Lou I'm going to grab a pen and paper in my truck and write down what I think the Mercedes needs so that I can kind of price out what I think might be a reasonable offer. He responds, okay, I'm going to go drain the main vein. Sorry. I walk over to the Mercedes, I make a couple of loops around it, try to figure out what it's going to take to get it out of the woods, make it roadworthy, possibly. As I'm standing the 10 feet to my truck from the car, lost in my thoughts, I look up, and standing there is one of the largest men I've ever seen in a suit, trench coat, church shoes, and wearing black gloves.
Oh my, okay.
Mind you, I stand 6'4" and weigh what is usually a pretty solid 250 when compared to other people. This dude is much bigger than me. Also, there is no other fucking car around, just my truck and Lou's Ranger. So where the hell did this guy come from? And why is he standing next to my truck? I stop dead. He says, "Where's Lou?" Even more of a Goodfellas accent. I managed to squeak out, he's taking a piss over there. He says, yeah, I'm Lou's attorney.
What the hell?
We're, entrepreneurs.
He's not even the mechanic. He's a lawyer.
We're trying to raise capital, for this business we want to start next summer. So you're here for the Mercedes? Me? Yes. Him. Well, it comes with a spare engine and there's a spare transmission in the house. The engine's just under the plywood. So the plywood that is leaning against this 2-story garage, and part of it is frozen in some water and snow. I go and try to remove the plywood to get a better look at the engine. It bends, but it's stuck in the ground and I can't get it to snap. The lawyer walks over in his fucking suit and church shoes and one-handed grabs the plywood, bends it back, and it snaps off. one end frozen in the ground. Now, I realize some people might think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. I thought he was bigger than me, and he was. But when I couldn't snap the plywood and he did it one-handed, I just gave the most dumbfounded bullshit face, and a certain part of my brain hoped I could outrun him in his church shoes. Ain't no fucking lawyer snapping plywood in church shoes.
So at this point, being the guy involved in this story, you would be very weirded out, I would think, right? Not sure what the fuck's
I would be like, what did I get myself into?
What's going on? What's the end game? You know, you start wondering what the hell's really going to happen.
So he says, I'm going to go talk to Lou. And he wanders off in the direction Lou went to piss. I grab a pen and paper and wander back over to the car and start writing down some more parts. Now, I'm still not scared at this point. I'm still just excited, and I've decided I will just offer them the amount of money they are asking for, because why haggle with the lawyer and Lou? They do have a business to get started, and why would I want to be in the way of that? I walk back over to Lou, and the lawyer is nowhere. So how the fuck does a man that large just appear and disappear? I say to Lou, I ran into your lawyer, and I can hear barking a little ways off. It sounded like it would be past the cinder block garage. Lou says, oh, he's probably off playing with his wolves. He fucking loves them. He's crazy about them. Now, honestly, I think to myself, Lou was a little slow, and it's probably not wolves, just big dogs. I think, whatever. I can hear the barking getting louder, and I realize there are a number of dogs somewhere nearby. I keep having some small talk with Lou, and the barking suddenly stops, and I turn, and here comes the lawyer. With a big fucking wolf on a thick rope leash.
Oh my God.
I know large dogs, and I know wolves. I love wolves. I've seen them up close at Busch Gardens in Virginia when I was in the Navy. This was a fucking wolf, and it was bigger than those apparently malnourished wolves they have at Busch Gardens captivity.
So here comes the huge monster lawyer with a big monster dog.
A wolf.
A wolf. A fucking wolf.
On a rope leash.
Okay.
And it was shaking all over, staring at me. I wanted to pet it. You must understand something. I love dogs. I have always daydreamed about having a pet wolf. From reading White Fang as a kid and watching nature specials about them, I have always wanted to have one. Here was one in front of me on a leash. He was gorgeous. It wasn't a North American gray wolf. It had more white and orange in the coat, and the lawyer said the name, but I have long since forgotten, what kind of wolf it was. I reached my hand out, and the lawyer says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. He bites. Those teeth are like 9-penny nails. They go right through the bone and flesh real easy. Sometimes when the coyotes are getting busy around here, I let them loose to take down some coyotes. They just tear right through them. And then he turns to Lou and says, you can see why some of the boys down at the club freak out when I bring them around. And starts laughing.
What the fuck?
It was at this point I became scared. I didn't show it, but the needle scratched off the record in my brain. These were mob enforcers. These wolves eat people. There is no one around for miles here, and you would never hear a scream while the wolves ate you. So we talked a little longer about the car and the price. I told them I had to research those replacement parts, see what was available for the body because of rot, and that I would call Lou. The lawyer offered to throw in a wolf pup for free if I bought the car. I entertained the thought of purchasing the car. This is how stupid I am to have a wolf. But then I realized that maybe having a wolf pup that had tasted human flesh was probably not a responsibility I should take on. Sometimes when I'm lying in bed at night, I regret not getting the car and the wolf pup.
Okay. So he made it out there alive. That's obvious.
Yes,
that's good.
Yes.
My God. What a colorful story. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, James, for that story.
So as you can see, we got plenty of listener submissions. Some of them scary, some of them just weird.
I have another one.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, one more?
Yes, I do have one more.
Okay, I'm excited. Read it.
When I was 15, I traveled with my family to Charleston, South Carolina, which is a beautiful place.
It is.
Very hot.
I love Charleston.
My parents rented a room in an old historic inn for a few nights. My parents had a room that connected with me and my sister's room through a door, so we were able to maintain some privacy. When we first checked in, I felt a bad energy, almost like a wall on the hallway, specifically at one end. There was an elevator on the one side of the building and a staircase on the other end. I thought maybe it was my overactive imagination, so I tried to push it out of my mind. The first night was fine. I slept okay and nothing remarkable happened. My sister mentioned at breakfast that she thought the hallway was creepy, especially at the end where the staircase exit was. Later on the second night of our stay, I was awakened by something tugging at my leg. At first, I thought my sister was pranking me. I said, "Leave me alone." But then I felt another jerk on my foot. When I sat up in the bed, I could see my sister in the other bed asleep. The curtains were open just enough to have some light in the room. There was a black shape visible in the room, even in the darkness. I saw it move. I frantically flipped on the light, but there was no one in the room with us. The windows were locked from the inside. The door was locked, and my sister slept through the whole ordeal. I kept the light on for the rest of the night, terrified to go back to sleep. Yeah, I would be too. In the morning, when we met my parents for breakfast, I was so tired. When my parents asked why I looked so sleepy, I explained that I had this really scary experience. My mother told me she had been up half the night as well because she'd seen a silhouetted figure in the corner of the room that seemed to be sitting in a chair. Startled, she laid there in the darkness for a couple of minutes, thinking maybe it was just her eyes playing tricks. But then she sat up and said the figure walked toward the door that separated our room, seemed to disappear into the door. Oh my God. She said she turned on the light and there was nothing, so she assumed it was just a dream, eventually falling back asleep. We ended up checking out that day, and my dad booked us 2 rooms at a newer hotel chain. I didn't experience anything after that, but my whole family was creeped out with the experience. I still have a hard time staying in motels and such.
Yeah, I would too.
Yes, thank you, Katie. Did I get the names wrong on that?
I think maybe you did.
I'm sorry. Oh, so on my first one, you didn't put the name down.
Oh, well, they probably didn't give me a name.
Oh, my God. Okay, so that was the one about Jennifer's house and Jennifer warning them about the ghost. But thank you for that one as well. Oh, my God. Okay, so that's some pretty good stories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would survive some of those moments out there in the woods. Now, that one kind of got me.
The hunter?
Yes, the hunter.
That's really
And he gets back
weird.
and that shit's on his truck?
Yeah,
oh,
that's really weird.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't really like staying in hotels either, and I've never had anything like that happen.
No.
But I have to say, like, there was this one time, I was maybe like 22 or something, and I had lived in Washington, D.C. for a little bit, and I moved. I'll be honest, I was kind of like leaving a bad situation and moved and still had some things left at the apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
And had to go drive back up and pick my things up. And my mom came with me. And so we were doing kind of a quick turn and burn. Like we just booked a little hotel and I went to get the rest of my stuff that didn't fit in my car when I left the first time. Packed my car up, went back to the hotel. Like we spent the night and then basically got up the next morning and left, right? So my mom and I are in the hotel asleep, and it's probably like 2 or 3 in the morning, and some guy just starts banging on the door.
What?
And like screaming and yelling. And my mom's like, what the hell? Well, she kind of looks out the peephole, and there's like this big dude standing there, like banging on the door, trying to come in the door and like pulling on the door.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we were like, oh my God. So we call the front desk and tell the guy, and he's like, oh, well, I'll have our security guard come around. And so I don't know what ended up happening, but it was pretty scary to have some random dude like angrily trying to get in your room.
Oh, no.
Like the Holiday Inn.
No, you got to barricade yourself. You got to find weapons.
Yeah.
Anything at hand.
But that kind of freaked me out. Like, I don't remember us sleeping very well after that.
Well, no, how could you?
Just being like, okay, let's get out of here.
Well, I'm not comfortable in places like that anyway. Hotels and such.
Well, it wasn't probably like the best hotel. It was just like some cheap, like I said, Holiday Inn or something. But it was one of those where like the door goes to the outside.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like a Days Inn, a Holiday Inn.
Well, something
shitty.
you see right off the interstate or by
pretty
the
much.
airport.
And probably, I mean, it wasn't in a horrible neighborhood because I lived just down the street. So I knew the neighborhood and it wasn't like a bad neighborhood. But this, I guess, was just a sketchy place.
Yeah, I think it goes, a hotel is a little nicer.
Well, yeah.
And a motel, I believe you may have been in a motel.
Right. Well, because that's like usually motel is like the motor courts.
Yeah.
Right?
And those budget hotels.
Well, right. But I'm like 22
8s.
and I'm sure I was paying for it. And so I was just like, oh, this is cheap. We'll stay here. It's just for one night. but had this dude like banging on our door and like, let me in.
Speaking of hotel rooms, I have one little short story about that.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, I rode with this guy one time for about 5 hours from here to pick up a car his dad was going to give him. It was like a 73 Trans Am with the eagle on the hood. Super, super cool car.
Like a bandit car.
Yeah, like a bandit car. Exactly. It was white and had the bandit eagle on the...
Jeez, okay, that car gives me a lady boner.
Yeah, I know. A tree fell across it and it got destroyed. But anyway, so we ride all the way down there, and we got there way before his dad was going to be off work, and we've been riding for hours.
So when you say you got there, where were you? Do you know?
We were from Western North Carolina down to Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like middle of the state.
Yeah, 3-4 hours or whatever to get there. And so he's like, let's just rent a super cheap room, and we can, get out of the car, maybe eat lunch, and that kind of thing. And so he finds Google's cheapest room near me, and it's like one of those pay by the hour joints or something. So
is this like the Knight's Inn?
Yeah, this is exactly like the Knight's Inn.
This is like where I was staying.
Every town has these places, and so he gets a room for half a day. I was like, oh wow, that's very very distinguished that they have half day rates. And we open the door to go in, and literally a big cloud of smoke. I don't know if it's crack or marijuana. It was just this cloud of funky smoke billows out of the room into our faces. And we were just like, no, we're not going inside. This is the nastiest hotel room ever. Yeah. And so
that was pent up crack smoke from probably the person who was there 6 hours before you or something?
Or they were these people left 20 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were fogging it out. They got this little cheap room right quick so they can do whatever it is they do. And so he got his money back, and we just hung out in the car and shit. Yeah, there's my nasty motel story.
Ew, at least it wasn't
gross?
Like a ghost came screeching out of the bathroom with a knife or something.
But a head could have came out of the dumpster or something, You never know.
It could be in that movie 4 Rooms, and there's a dead hooker under the bed.
Yeah.
In the mattress.
There you go. You could get caught up going in a room like that. Okay.
I've only ever stayed in one motel that was sketchy like that. I mean, of course, we had the guy banging on the door, but it wasn't some nasty place. But I was coming back late one night from New Jersey, or actually we'd just gotten out of New Jersey, I think, and maybe into Maryland or something.
Yeah.
From a road trip, up to Massachusetts. So it was some hours that we'd been driving, and we pull into this little hotel motel thing. And it was the Budget Inn or something.
A no-tell?
But it was the only place around. So we go there. And I was afraid to sleep in this room.
Because it was nasty? Or
just so outdated. Something out of a horror movie. It had the paneling on the walls.
Some
and
deep orange carpet.
Green carpet, and tacky wall art from the 70s that honestly now, looking back, I wish I'd stolen it or something because it was pretty crazy.
It was the real stuff.
But just gross. It reminded me of the motel in No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
So it was probably from the 1980. It had never been redecorated or something.
Yeah.
But I was just afraid to stay there. I didn't want to sleep in the bed.
Whoa. So, yeah. What are you going to do?
It was musty.
Oh, not musty.
It's just something out of a horror movie.
Oh, God. Musty nuts floating through the air. No?
Crack smoke. Permeating.
People tell me, hey, man, you got a lighter? You got a lighter? Okay, so there we go. That was, if you're still listening, we love you to death, and it means you get us. And you got to hear all those great listener stories.
We would love to hear more.
Yeah, we need more of those. We should do that more often. And I'll get better.
Send us an email, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
I'll get better at reading them. I need to practice.
To hear your listener stories.
Yeah, and I'll think up some stupid story. I got some stupid stories. They're stupid. They're not scary.
We should do a Patreon-only episode of Dylan's stupid stories.
Yeah, can I drink?
Yeah.
Just a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much. We'll be back with more true crime very soon.